One of the most important lessons you will ever learn in life is that your value is not determined by how other people treat you. Many individuals spend years believing that their worth is connected to the approval, recognition, or appreciation they receive from others. They assume that if people celebrate them, they are valuable. If people reject them, they must be lacking something. This way of thinking is dangerous because it places your identity in the hands of people who may not even understand their own value, let alone yours. The truth is that value exists independently of recognition. A thing does not become valuable because someone notices it. It is valuable because of what it is. Gold remains gold, whether it is discovered or hidden beneath the earth. A diamond remains a diamond, whether it is displayed in a jewelry store or buried beneath layers of rock. Its worth is not increased by applause, and it is not decreased by neglect. The same principle applies to human beings. Many people live with a deep desire to be understood, appreciated, and acknowledged. There is nothing wrong with wanting appreciation. Appreciation is healthy. Encouragement is important. Recognition can be motivating. But problems begin when appreciation becomes the source of your identity rather than a supplement to it. When your confidence depends entirely on how others respond to you, you place yourself in a position of emotional instability. One compliment can make you feel powerful, while one criticism can make you feel worthless. You were never designed to live that way. You must understand that people evaluate you based on their level of awareness, experience, maturity, and understanding. Some people simply do not have the capacity to recognize what you carry. Their inability to see your value is not evidence that you lack value. It is often evidence of their limited perception. Imagine placing a priceless manuscript in front of someone who cannot read. The manuscript still contains wisdom. It still carries knowledge. It still possesses immense worth. But because the person lacks the ability to understand it, they may see nothing special about it. The problem is not with the manuscript. The problem is with the observer. Many talented, gifted, intelligent, and purpose-driven people spend years in environments where they are misunderstood. They possess abilities that could transform organizations, communities, and lives, yet they remain overlooked because they are surrounded by individuals who cannot recognize what they bring to the table. This is why you must never allow another person's opinion to become the final authority on your identity. People can be wrong. People misjudge. People overlook greatness. People underestimate potential. History is filled with examples of individuals who were ignored before they were celebrated. There were inventors whose ideas were rejected, leaders whose visions were mocked, entrepreneurs whose dreams were considered unrealistic, authors whose books were refused. Yet their rejection did not change their potential. Their critics were simply unable to see what would eventually become obvious to everyone else. The challenge is that when rejection happens repeatedly, it can begin to affect your self-image. You start questioning your abilities. You start wondering whether you are truly capable. You begin comparing yourself to others who seem to receive more attention and recognition. Slowly, you begin measuring your value through external responses rather than internal conviction. That is a dangerous mistake. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to lose sight of your own purpose. Every person has a unique assignment, unique gifts, and a unique journey. Your success cannot be measured by someone else's timeline. Your progress cannot be evaluated by someone else's achievements. When you compare yourself to others, you often ignore the years of preparation, struggle, learning, and sacrifice that shaped their path. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself rather than competing with someone else's story. Another reason people fail to appreciate your value is familiarity. Human nature often causes people to take for granted what they experience every day. They become accustomed to your presence. They expect your support. They assume your loyalty will always be available. What once impressed them becomes normal. What once inspired gratitude becomes something they overlook. This happens in friendships. It happens in families. It happens in relationships. It happens in workplaces. People become so accustomed to receiving your contribution that they stop recognizing its significance. But when that contribution disappears, reality begins teaching lessons they refused to learn while you were present. Suddenly they realized the encouragement they received was not common. They realized the loyalty they enjoyed was rare. They realized the wisdom they benefited from was valuable. They realized the consistency they depended on was exceptional. Unfortunately, many people only discover value after experiencing loss. That is why you should never interpret someone's failure to appreciate you as proof that you are unimportant. Some individuals are incapable of understanding what they have until it is gone. You cannot build your identity around people who only recognize blessings after losing them. Your responsibility is not to force others to see your value. Your responsibility is to develop your value. Invest in your growth, invest in your character, invest in your discipline, invest in your knowledge, invest in your purpose. Become so focused on personal development that whether people recognize your worth becomes secondary to your commitment to excellence. The strongest confidence comes from self-awareness. It comes from understanding who you are, what you stand for, and what you bring to the world. When you possess that level of clarity, criticism no longer destroys you, and praise no longer controls you. You appreciate encouragement, but you do not depend on it. You welcome recognition, but you do not require it to function. This kind of confidence creates freedom. It frees you from constantly seeking validation. It frees you from chasing approval. It frees you from trying to impress people who have already decided not to appreciate you. Instead of spending your energy convincing others of your value, you invest that energy into becoming even better. You learn, you grow, you improve, you mature, you evolve, and over time, something remarkable happens. Your results begin speaking louder than your explanations. Your growth begins speaking louder than your arguments. Your character begins speaking louder than your defense. You no longer need to prove your worth because your life becomes evidence of it. Remember this principle throughout your journey. Your value was established long before anyone formed an opinion about you. It does not increase when people applaud you, and it does not decrease when people ignore you. Recognition is wonderful, but it is not the source of your worth. Never hand the keys of your identity to people who cannot see your potential. Know who you are. Understand what you carry. Respect the gifts you have been given. Continue developing yourself with excellence and purpose. Because the day will come when many who overlooked you will finally understand what they failed to appreciate. But by then, your confidence should no longer depend on their realization. It should be rooted in the fact that you understood your value long before they ever did. One of the most fascinating truths about human nature is that people often fail to recognize value while they have full access to it. They become so accustomed to a person's presence, support, loyalty, wisdom, and love that they begin to treat these gifts as ordinary. What was once appreciated becomes expected. What was once celebrated becomes overlooked. What was once considered precious becomes taken for granted. This is why many people only understand the true value of something after it is gone. Think about how often people complain about what they have while wishing they could recover what they lost. This pattern is visible in relationships, friendships, careers, families, and even opportunities. Human beings have a tendency to focus on what is missing rather than appreciating what is present. As a result, they overlook the very blessing that is helping them succeed, grow, and remain stable. When someone has been a source of encouragement, they may not immediately realize how much strength they were receiving from that person. When someone has been a source of wisdom, they may not notice how many mistakes were being prevented by that guidance. When someone has been loyal, they may not understand how rare loyalty truly is. Because these contributions become part of daily life, people stop seeing them as gifts and start viewing them as guarantees. The danger of familiarity is that it can blind people to greatness. The more accessible something becomes, the easier it is to underestimate its importance. This is why many people discover value through loss rather than through appreciation. They learn the lesson after the opportunity is gone. Consider a person who constantly receives support from someone who believes in them. Whenever they face difficulties, there is encouragement available. Whenever they struggle, there is someone willing to listen. Whenever they doubt themselves, there is someone reminding them of their potential. Over time, this support becomes normal. Instead of being grateful for it, they assume it will always be there. Then one day circumstances change. The person who was always available is no longer there. The encouraging words disappear. The emotional support disappears. The dependable presence disappears. Suddenly the silence begins teaching lessons that words never could. The absence becomes louder than the presence ever was. What was once taken for granted now becomes impossible to replace. This is often the moment regret begins. Regret is a powerful teacher because it reveals the true value of something after it has been lost. It forces people to confront what they failed to appreciate. It forces them to examine choices they once justified. It forces them to recognize opportunities they wasted. Many people believe regret is simply sadness about the past, but regret is much deeper than that. Regret is the realization that something valuable was available and was not treated accordingly. It is the understanding that different choices could have produced different outcomes. The painful reality is that some lessons cannot be learned through instruction alone. Some lessons must be learned through experience. A person can be told repeatedly that loyalty is rare, but they may not fully understand until they encounter betrayal. A person can be told that genuine support is valuable, but they may not fully understand until they face challenges alone. A person can be told that a particular relationship is important, but they may not fully understand until that relationship no longer exists. Life has a way of educating people through consequences. This does not mean people are evil or intentionally careless. Often, they simply lack awareness. They become distracted by temporary emotions, superficial attractions, unrealistic expectations, or personal ambitions. In chasing what appears better, they fail to appreciate what is already good. This is why wisdom is so important. Wisdom teaches people to evaluate value correctly before it disappears. Wisdom teaches people to appreciate people while they are present. Wisdom teaches people to recognize blessings before they become memories. Unfortunately, wisdom is not always learned early. Many individuals acquire wisdom through painful experiences. They lose something meaningful and only then understand its significance. Perhaps they lose a friendship and later realize that true friends are difficult to find. Perhaps they lose a relationship and later realize that genuine commitment is rare. Perhaps they lose a mentor and later recognize how much guidance they were receiving. Perhaps they lose an opportunity and later understand its potential. The lesson arrives, but the timing is often painful. However, if you are the person who was overlooked, undervalued, or taken for granted, there is something important you must remember. Another person's failure to appreciate you is not proof that you lacked value. Their inability to recognize your worth does not diminish your worth. A priceless artifact remains priceless even if someone mistakes it for something ordinary. A diamond remains a diamond even if someone fails to identify it. Value exists independently of recognition. Too many people tie their self-worth to the opinions of others. They believe that if someone leaves, rejects them, or fails to appreciate them, then something must be wrong with them. This mindset creates unnecessary suffering because it places personal value in the hands of other people. Your value does not depend on another person's awareness. Your value does not depend on another person's maturity. Your value does not depend on another person's ability to recognize what you bring into their life. Some people simply do not have the vision to see what they possess until it is gone. The remarkable thing about life is that truth eventually reveals itself. Time has a way of exposing what really matters. Temporary excitement fades, surface-level attractions fade, illusions fade. What remains are the qualities that truly sustain success, happiness, and fulfillment. Eventually, many people look back and realize that the person they underestimated was actually one of the greatest blessings they ever had. They remember the support, they remember the loyalty, they remember the patience. They remember the encouragement, they remember the consistency, they remember the peace, and they begin comparing those memories to their current reality. That comparison often becomes the source of regret. But while they are learning that lesson, your responsibility is not to stand still, waiting for their realization. Your responsibility is to continue growing, developing, and moving forward. Do not make someone else's regret the center of your future. Do not spend your life hoping they finally understand your worth. Do not pause your purpose while waiting for an apology, acknowledgement, or validation. Allow life to teach its lessons in its own time. Focus instead on becoming the best version of yourself. Continue building your character. Continue expanding your knowledge. Continue strengthening your discipline. Continue pursuing your purpose. Continue investing in your growth. Because while some people are looking backward with regret, you should be looking forward with vision. The greatest victory is not watching someone regret losing you. The greatest victory is becoming so secure in your purpose and so confident in your value that whether they regret it or not no longer controls your emotions. When you reach that level of maturity, you understand a profound truth. Some people only understand value after loss, but you do not need their realization to validate your worth. Your responsibility is not to make them see what they lost. Your responsibility is to continue becoming everything you were created to be. That is where true freedom begins, and that is where lasting success is found. What if the greatest opportunity in your life arrived disguised as a disappointment? What if the door that closed in your face was not a punishment, but a redirection toward a destiny far greater than anything you had planned for yourself? Most people struggle with this idea because they have been taught to measure success by what stays and failure by what leaves. Yet life repeatedly demonstrates that some of the most important breakthroughs begin with endings. When someone rejects you, overlooks you, abandons you, or fails to recognize your value, the natural response is pain. Human beings are wired to seek acceptance. We want to be appreciated, respected, and understood. Therefore, when those things are withheld, we often interpret the experience as evidence that something is wrong with us. We begin questioning our abilities, our worth, and even our purpose. However, wisdom teaches a different lesson. Rejection is not always a statement about your value. Sometimes it is a revelation about your environment. Sometimes it exposes the fact that you have outgrown a place, a relationship, or a situation that can no longer support the person you are becoming. Consider the seed. Before a tree can emerge, the seed must be separated from its original state. If the seed could speak, it might interpret the process as destruction. It is buried beneath the soil. It is isolated from the environment it once knew. Everything familiar disappears. Yet what appears to be an ending is actually the beginning of transformation. The seed must lose one form before it can discover another. The same principle applies to human growth. Many people want expansion without change, advancement without discomfort, and success without transition. But growth often requires separation from what is comfortable. It demands that you leave behind environments that no longer challenge you and relationships that no longer contribute to your development. The difficulty is that when these transitions occur, they rarely feel positive in the moment. They often arrive wrapped in disappointment. A friendship ends, a relationship collapses, an opportunity disappears, a dream seems to fall apart. In those moments, it is easy to focus on what has been lost. It is easy to become consumed by feelings of rejection and failure. Yet some of life's greatest tragedies are not the doors that close. The real tragedy is refusing to walk toward the doors that open because you are still staring at the ones that closed. Many people remain emotionally attached to seasons that have already ended. They spend years replaying conversations, reliving disappointments, and wondering what they could have done differently. While they are focused on the past, opportunities for growth continue passing by unnoticed. Your future cannot fully unfold if your attention remains trapped in yesterday. One of the most powerful truths you can learn is that every season has a purpose. There are people who enter your life for a reason, and there are people who leave your life for a reason. Not everyone is meant to accompany you on every stage of your journey. Some individuals help prepare you for the next level, but they are not meant to remain when you arrive there. This is difficult to accept because we often confuse permanence with significance. We assume that if something ends, it must not have mattered. In reality, some of the most significant experiences in life are temporary. Their value is found in the lessons they teach, the strength they build, and the perspective they provide. Think about how many successful people can trace their greatest achievements back to moments of rejection. They were denied opportunities they desperately wanted. They faced criticism from people they respected. They encountered obstacles that seemed unfair and unnecessary. At the time, those experiences felt devastating. Looking back, however, they often realized those very setbacks redirected them toward paths they never would have discovered otherwise. What appeared to be a roadblock became a turning point. What appeared to be a loss became a lesson. What appeared to be rejection became direction. This is why emotional maturity requires the ability to see beyond the immediate moment. It requires understanding that today's disappointment may carry tomorrow's opportunity. It requires trusting that not every closed door is meant to be reopened. Sometimes the greatest act of wisdom is accepting that certain things were not designed to continue. When people reject your value, it can be tempting to chase their approval. You may feel compelled to prove them wrong. You may spend enormous amounts of energy trying to demonstrate what they failed to see. Yet there is a hidden danger in this approach. When your goal becomes convincing others of your worth, you surrender control of your self-image to their opinions. Your value should never be dependent upon another person's recognition. The sun does not stop shining because someone closes their curtains. A mountain does not lose its strength because someone refuses to climb it. A diamond does not lose its worth because someone mistakes it for glass. Likewise, your potential remains intact regardless of who acknowledges it. The challenge is learning to believe in your purpose even when external validation is absent. This is where true confidence is developed. Confidence is not built when everyone applauds you. Confidence is built when you continue moving forward despite criticism, rejection, and misunderstanding. Every great achievement requires this kind of resilience. There will always be people who fail to understand your vision. There will always be individuals who underestimate your abilities. There will always be moments when circumstances seem to contradict your goals. Do not allow those moments to define you. Allow them to develop you. The difference between people who remain stuck and people who grow is often their interpretation of adversity. One group sees rejection as a final verdict. The other sees it as valuable information. One group focuses on what was lost. The other focuses on what can be learned. Growth begins when you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can this teach me?" That question changes everything. Instead of becoming bitter, you become wiser. Instead of becoming discouraged, you become stronger. Instead of becoming trapped by disappointment, you become prepared for greater opportunities. Every challenge contains a lesson. Every setback contains insight. Every rejection contains information that can contribute to your development if you are willing to learn from it. The remarkable thing about life is that many of the experiences that initially seem painful later reveal themselves to be necessary. The relationship that ended forced you to discover your independence. The opportunity you lost pushed you toward a more meaningful path. The rejection you feared exposed strengths you never knew existed. You cannot always understand the purpose of a season while you are living through it. Sometimes clarity only arrives when you look back. Sometimes the connections become visible only after time has passed. Therefore, do not judge your future based on your current disappointment. A closed door does not mean the journey is over. A rejection does not mean your purpose has been cancelled. An ending does not mean your best days are behind you. Often, it means the opposite. It means life is directing you toward a place where your gifts can be fully expressed, your value can be properly appreciated, and your purpose can be more completely fulfilled. So keep moving forward, keep growing, keep learning, keep developing your abilities, keep believing in the value that exists within you. One day you may discover that the rejection you once cried over was the very thing that protected you from a lesser future and redirected you toward a greater destiny. And when that day comes, you will understand a truth that changes everything. Rejection was never the end of your story. It was simply the beginning of a new chapter. One of the greatest mistakes people make after being hurt, rejected, abandoned, or underestimated is believing that they must respond. They feel the need to explain themselves, defend their value, prove their worth, or somehow make others understand what they have lost. Human nature often pushes us toward justification. When someone misjudges us, overlooks us, or treats us as if we are insignificant, there is a strong temptation to spend our energy convincing them they were wrong. Yet the truth is that the most powerful response to being undervalued is not an argument, it is growth. Growth has a language that requires no translation. It speaks through results. It speaks through confidence. It speaks through peace. It speaks through maturity. It speaks through discipline. While words can be debated, growth cannot be denied. People may challenge your explanations, but they cannot challenge the evidence of your transformation. Many individuals waste years trying to win battles that do not matter. They spend countless hours replaying conversations in their minds. They imagine what they should have said. They dream about opportunities to prove themselves. They become emotionally trapped in a desire for validation. The problem with this approach is that it places your future in the hands of people who may never appreciate your value. The moment your happiness depends on someone else's approval, you surrender control over your destiny. You must understand that your life is too valuable to be spent chasing recognition from people who failed to recognize your worth in the first place. Your energy is one of your greatest assets. Every day, you are given a limited amount of mental, emotional, and physical energy. The question is whether you will invest that energy in growth or waste it in resentment. Resentment feels productive because it keeps the pain alive. It creates the illusion that you are doing something about what happened. But resentment never improves your future. It only extends your suffering. Growth, on the other hand, transforms pain into power. It takes disappointment and converts it into wisdom. It takes rejection and turns it into redirection. Think about a seed buried beneath the ground. From the outside, it appears as though nothing is happening. No one applauds the seed. No one celebrates its progress. No one sees the struggle taking place beneath the surface. Yet deep underground, the seed is developing roots. It is preparing for a future that others cannot yet see. In many ways, personal growth follows the same pattern. Some of your most important development will happen in seasons when nobody is watching. There will be moments when your progress feels invisible. There will be days when your efforts seem unnoticed. There will be times when you wonder if all the work is worth it. But growth is not measured by immediate recognition. Growth is measured by what you are becoming. The person who hurt you may never apologize. The people who underestimated you may never admit they were wrong. Those who took you for granted may never acknowledge your contribution. If your growth depends on receiving those things, you will remain stuck. Freedom begins when you stop waiting for permission to move forward. True growth starts with taking responsibility for your own development. This does not mean accepting blame for what others did. It means accepting responsibility for who you choose to become after it happened. Life will present challenges that are beyond your control, but your response is always within your control. You can allow pain to make you bitter, or you can allow pain to make you better. You can allow rejection to destroy your confidence, or you can allow rejection to strengthen your character. You can allow disappointment to become your identity, or you can allow disappointment to become your teacher. Every difficult experience contains a lesson. The individuals who succeed in life are not necessarily those who avoid pain. They are those who learn from it. One of the signs of maturity is recognizing that not every battle deserves your attention. Some people expect you to argue. Some people expect you to react. Some people expect you to spend your energy defending yourself. What surprises them is when you choose growth instead. Imagine two people facing the same rejection. The first person becomes consumed by anger. Years later, they are still talking about what happened. Their focus remains fixed on the past. The second person experiences the same pain, but decides to grow from it. They develop new skills. They improve their mindset. They strengthen their character. They pursue their purpose. 10 years later, the difference between those two lives is extraordinary. The rejection was the same. The disappointment was the same. The pain was the same. The outcome was different because the response was different. Your response determines your direction. One of the most attractive qualities a person can possess is emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is the ability to remain focused on your purpose, even when circumstances tempt you to become distracted. It is the ability to maintain your peace when others expect chaos. It is the ability to continue growing when others expect you to quit. People often believe power is found in controlling others. Real power is found in controlling yourself. Anyone can react, anyone can complain, anyone can blame, anyone can become bitter, but it takes wisdom to grow. It takes discipline to improve. It takes character to remain focused. It takes vision to keep moving forward when life becomes difficult. When you commit yourself to growth, something remarkable begins to happen. Your confidence starts coming from within rather than from external validation. You no longer need constant approval because you know who you are. You no longer need everyone to understand your journey because you understand your purpose. You stop measuring your value by the opinions of others and start measuring it by your commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. As your growth continues, your perspective changes. Situations that once devastated you become lessons. People who once intimidated you lose their influence. Obstacles that once seemed impossible become manageable. You begin to realize that many of the experiences that felt like setbacks were actually preparing you for something greater. Growth creates strength. Growth creates wisdom. Growth creates resilience. Growth creates opportunities. Most importantly, growth creates freedom. The greatest response to being underestimated is not proving someone wrong. The greatest response is becoming so committed to your purpose that their opinion no longer matters. When your focus shifts from seeking validation to pursuing excellence, your entire life changes. There is something powerful about a person who refuses to allow disappointment to define them. There is something inspiring about an individual who transforms pain into progress. There is something extraordinary about someone who chooses development over revenge, purpose over bitterness, and growth over regret. The world is filled with people who are waiting for circumstances to change before they move forward. Do not become one of them. Make the decision that your future will not be held hostage by your past. Make the decision that your value does not depend on someone else's recognition. Make the decision that every challenge you face will become fuel for your development. Then continue growing, continue learning, continue improving, continue building, continue becoming. Because in the end, your growth will accomplish what arguments never could. Your peace will speak louder than your anger. Your success will speak louder than your complaints. Your character will speak louder than your defense. And your transformed life will become undeniable evidence that the greatest response to anything that tried to break you was becoming stronger than it ever imagined possible. One of the most important lessons you will ever learn in life is that value is often recognized only after it is gone. Human nature has a tendency to overlook what is consistently available. People become accustomed to loyalty, kindness, support, wisdom, and genuine care. What once felt extraordinary slowly begins to feel ordinary. What was once appreciated becomes expected. What was once celebrated becomes ignored. This is why many people do not realize the importance of someone until that person is no longer present in their lives. There is a difference between having something and appreciating it. Many people possess valuable relationships, opportunities, friendships, and partnerships, but they fail to understand their significance because they assume those things will always remain. They live with the illusion of permanence. They believe tomorrow is guaranteed. They believe loyalty will always wait for them. They believe support will always be available. They believe the people who care about them will continue giving, sacrificing, and investing regardless of how they are treated. Life eventually teaches a different lesson. When a person takes someone for granted, they are making a dangerous assumption. They are assuming that the value they receive does not require appreciation. They are assuming that the strength of another person has no limits. They are assuming that patience will never run out. They are assuming that loyalty can survive neglect forever. Yet every relationship operates according to principles. Respect must be reciprocated. Appreciation must be expressed. Trust must be protected. Value must be recognized. When these principles are ignored, consequences eventually follow. Many people think regret appears immediately after a loss, but that is rarely the case. In the beginning, pride often prevents self-reflection. Ego creates a false sense of confidence. A person may convince themselves that they made the right decision. They may believe they can easily replace what they lost. They may tell themselves that another opportunity, another relationship, or another person will provide exactly what the previous one provided. But time has a unique ability to reveal truth. Time removes distractions. Time removes emotional noise. Time exposes reality. As days, months, and years pass, comparisons naturally begin to happen. The person who was taken for granted starts to become a standard against which others are measured. Suddenly, qualities that once seemed insignificant become rare. Integrity becomes rare. Loyalty becomes rare. Consistency becomes rare. Genuine encouragement becomes rare. Emotional maturity becomes rare. The individual who once seemed ordinary now appears extraordinary. That realization often becomes the birthplace of regret. Regret is not simply sadness. Regret is the painful awareness that a better choice was available but was not made. It is the understanding that something valuable was lost through carelessness, pride, selfishness, or lack of wisdom. It is the recognition that an opportunity existed, yet it was not honored when it mattered most. This is why regret can be such a powerful teacher. It forces people to confront reality. It forces people to acknowledge mistakes. It forces people to recognize value they once ignored. However, there is something you must understand. The purpose of this lesson is not to become obsessed with making others regret losing you. That mindset can trap you in a cycle of bitterness and revenge. Some people spend years imagining how satisfying it will be when those who hurt them finally realize what they lost. They build their goals around proving others wrong. They measure their success by the regret of their critics. That approach is dangerous because it places your future in the hands of your past. Your growth should never depend on someone else's realization. Your success should never depend on someone else's regret. Your purpose is too important to be tied to another person's opinion. Instead, focus on becoming the highest version of yourself. Focus on your growth. Focus on your discipline. Focus on your character. Focus on your purpose. As you continue developing, something remarkable happens. You begin to understand that your value was never determined by how someone treated you. Their behavior revealed their perspective, not your worth. If someone failed to appreciate your loyalty, that does not reduce the value of loyalty. If someone ignored your kindness, that does not reduce the power of kindness. If someone underestimated your contribution, that does not erase the contribution you made. A diamond remains a diamond even when someone mistakes it for a stone. Your responsibility is not to force recognition. Your responsibility is to maintain your value regardless of recognition. Many people make the mistake of lowering their standards after being taken for granted. They become cynical. They become distrustful. They decide never to help anyone again. They decide never to care again. They allow disappointment to transform them into someone they were never meant to become. Do not make that mistake. Never allow another person's failure to appreciate you to destroy the qualities that make you valuable. Remain kind, remain disciplined, remain honorable, remain focused, remain committed to excellence. The world already has enough bitterness. What it needs is more people who continue doing what is right even after experiencing disappointment. The greatest victory is not watching someone regret losing you. The greatest victory is continuing to thrive despite being underestimated. Imagine the power of reaching a place where your confidence no longer depends on who recognizes you. Imagine becoming so secure in your purpose that rejection loses its ability to control your emotions. Imagine becoming so focused on your future that you no longer need validation from people who failed to appreciate your presence. That is true freedom. The reality is that some people will regret losing you. They will remember your support during difficult seasons. They will remember your encouragement when they felt discouraged. They will remember your loyalty when others abandoned them. They will remember your patience, your wisdom, your sacrifices, and your belief in them. The memory of your value may become clearer after your absence than it ever was during your presence. But that is their lesson to learn. Your lesson is different. Your lesson is to understand that your value exists whether it is recognized or not. Your lesson is to continue growing when others doubt you. Your lesson is to continue believing in your purpose when others overlook your potential. Your lesson is to keep moving forward without carrying the weight of bitterness. Life is too short to spend years looking backward. There are new opportunities waiting for you. There are new relationships waiting for you. There are new doors waiting to open. There are new levels of growth waiting to be reached. The people who take great individuals for granted often discover their mistake when it is too late to change the outcome. They learn that genuine people are not easily replaced. They learn that loyalty is rare. They learn that authentic support is priceless. They learn that some opportunities only come once. But while they are learning the lesson of regret, you should be learning the lesson of progress. Keep building, keep growing, keep improving, keep becoming, because your destiny is not found in who lost you. Your destiny is found in who you are becoming. And when you dedicate yourself to growth, purpose, and excellence, you will eventually reach a place where the regret of others becomes irrelevant. Not because their realization lacks meaning, but because your future has become too important to be interrupted by the mistakes of the past. That is the mindset of a person who truly understands their value. That is the mindset of a person who refuses to be defined by rejection. And that is the mindset that transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary legacies. Most people misunderstand what it means to be unforgettable. They think being unforgettable means having people constantly talk about you, miss you, or regret losing you. But true significance is much deeper than that. True significance is not measured by how much attention you receive. It is measured by the impact you leave behind. The most powerful people in life are not those who force others to remember them. They are those whose value becomes impossible to forget because of the difference they made wherever they went. One of the greatest mistakes people make after being rejected, abandoned, or taken for granted is allowing their lives to revolve around proving something to those who hurt them. They wake up thinking about what they should have said. They spend years imagining how others will react when they become successful. They build their goals around getting validation from people who failed to appreciate them in the first place. This is a dangerous trap because it places your future in the hands of your past. Your life was never designed to be a reaction to someone else's decision. Your life was designed to be an expression of your purpose. When someone fails to recognize your value, the temptation is to become bitter. The temptation is to seek revenge. The temptation is to make them suffer the way you suffered. But bitterness does not make you stronger. It makes you a prisoner. Revenge does not create progress. It creates distraction. The energy that could have been invested into growth becomes consumed by resentment. The most powerful response is development. Imagine a seed buried beneath the ground. If that seed could think like many people think, it would spend its time complaining about the darkness. It would complain about the pressure of the soil. It would focus on everything it has lost. But a seed fulfills its purpose by growing through the pressure. The very thing that appears to be burying it is actually positioning it for transformation. Life works the same way. Many of the painful experiences you have faced were not sent to destroy you. They were opportunities to develop strengths you never would have discovered otherwise. The rejection taught you independence. The disappointment taught you wisdom. The betrayal taught you discernment. The struggle taught you resilience. The loss taught you how strong you really are. Every challenge carries a lesson, but only those who continue growing receive the benefit of that lesson. You must understand that your value does not increase when someone recognizes it. Gold remains gold whether people appreciate it or not. A diamond remains a diamond even when it is buried beneath the earth. Its worth is not determined by public opinion. Its worth is determined by its nature. The same principle applies to your life. You do not become valuable when someone praises you. You do not become valuable when people applaud you. You do not become valuable when society approves of you. You are created with value. The responsibility is not to create value, but to develop and maximize the value that already exists within you. Every human being has gifts. Every human being has potential. Every human being possesses abilities that can improve the lives of others. Yet many people never fully discover these gifts because they spend too much time seeking acceptance and too little time pursuing growth. Growth requires discipline. Growth requires commitment. Growth requires the willingness to improve even when nobody is watching. The greatest victories often occur in private before they are visible in public. Before people admire success, there are years of preparation. Before people celebrate achievement, there are countless moments of sacrifice. Before people recognize excellence, there are thousands of decisions made behind closed doors. This is why your focus must remain on becoming rather than proving. A person who is constantly trying to prove themselves is controlled by external opinions. A person who is committed to becoming their best self is guided by internal purpose. There is a tremendous difference between those two mindsets. One creates anxiety, the other creates confidence. One depends on validation, the other depends on vision. One is temporary, the other is lasting. When you commit yourself to personal development, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop chasing opportunities and start attracting them. You stop begging for recognition and begin earning respect naturally. You stop trying to convince people of your worth because your actions speak louder than your words ever could. Excellence has a voice. Character has a voice. Integrity has a voice. Consistency has a voice. People may ignore your words, but they cannot ignore sustained excellence. Eventually, those who underestimated you begin to see the results of your growth. Not because you announced it, not because you demanded attention, but because genuine development produces visible outcomes. The irony of life is that many people only recognize value after they lose access to it. When you were available, they assumed you would always be there. When you were supportive, they assumed your support had no cost. When you were loyal, they assumed loyalty was common. When you were encouraging, they assumed encouragement was easy to find. But absence often creates clarity. People frequently discover the importance of something only after it is gone. Yet your purpose is not to wait for their realization. Your purpose is to continue moving forward. Do not build your future around the possibility that someone might regret losing you. Build your future around becoming the person you were created to be. If they regret it, that is their lesson. If they do not regret it, that is also their choice. Neither outcome should determine your direction. Your direction must be determined by purpose. The most successful individuals understand that life is too valuable to waste looking backward. They learn from the past, but they do not live there. They appreciate the lessons, but they remain focused on the future. They understand that every day provides another opportunity to grow, learn, improve, and contribute. Your greatest days are not behind you. Your greatest contribution may still be ahead of you. Your greatest opportunities may still be waiting for you. Your greatest achievements may not even be visible yet, but they require your attention. They require your focus. They require your commitment. Therefore, become so knowledgeable that your wisdom benefits everyone around you. Become so disciplined that your habits create extraordinary results. Become so dependable that people can trust your word. Become so focused that distractions lose their power over you. Become so committed to excellence that mediocrity becomes unacceptable. Not because you want someone to regret losing you. Not because you want revenge. Not because you want applause. But because you understand that your life carries purpose. And when a person discovers purpose, embraces growth, and commits themselves to continuous development, they become unforgettable. Not because they demand attention, but because their impact remains long after they have left the room. That is the highest level of success. That is the highest level of influence. That is the highest level of personal growth. Become so valuable that your presence improves every environment you enter. Your words inspire every person you encourage. Your actions reflect excellence, and your character commands respect. Then your absence will be felt, your contribution will be remembered, and your impact will endure. Not because you sought recognition, but because you dedicated your life to becoming the very best version of yourself.